Okay, one more, and then I need to do a little bit of dishes, and then I'll catch you after you do a round, and then I'll be back in it.
Sounds
I'm
good.
sure I'll be
Like,
at like we'll see.
yeah. You ever play, I may have already asked this before, but you ever play Valheim?
You said Valorant?
Valheim. No.
No, I haven't played Valorant. I've had friends who do it though, or they did.
They did, right?
Yeah. It's like New World. Like everyone like jumps on it for a second and then dips.
New World's supposed to have gotten some sort of big ol' impressive something something update, but you know, it's all just propaganda probably.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure Amazon gave up on it.
They probably said the developer team had too many bathroom breaks. Time to pull the plug. I'm sorry. Amazon working conditions. Why is that a meme?
Not the bathroom breaks.
They track you. I used to work in the warehouse
I
and they
I
like track
I'm,
where you are.
I know that's why it's a joke, but it's real.
Yeah,
It's
it's real sad.
crazy. Crazy.
Dang,
And
I've
they're
been.
good.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm in the top thousands of Shens.
Hell yeah.
Or in the not
Nice.
Shens, Alistar's.
Alistair's right. I was about to be confused. Like, man, you've been practicing Shin on the sideline?
Hmm.
Really?
My buddy told me I was like Boomer Jetson. He said I was in the 50 something for Iverns NA. I wonder where I'm at now.
Was it Ivern Dimensional?
Yeah. Where you go like Mobalytics to check that or
I'm on App Professor on the
oh,
desktop.
okay.
Let's see where you were at with your Ivern. You are number 64 in North America.
Nice.
Hey,
500 in the world.
I have 400 something imposters to get through. Got it.
Yeah.
It's like Highlander out here. There can only be one tree. Yeah.
Note the kid is 2,500 Jace in NA. Do they just base off of wins or like stats? Like
He
what?
said it's a bunch of factors. It's like your rank, it's your win rate, it's your like KDA and matches, supposedly. It's what the boomer said.
The boomer.
Oh, boom. Damn, this kid's wild. He's like number one Alistar, number 88 Nautilus, 151 Zera. Like what?
Can the tree be in the stoner category, not crackhead category?
Oh, not my
Okay. No
weird.
worries. It's not even important.
What is this queue time? Yo, Quincy, you in Texas?
Nah, my brother is, but I'm in Florida.
Gotcha. I didn't know if you and Nathan knew each other in real life or whatnot.
I know Crystal from like we used to work at Starbucks like 4 or 5 years ago.
In Seattle?
Nah, in Virginia.
Virginia? Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I just met Nathan like I don't know, like a month ago or something in Discord. Yeah. Do you know them in real life?
I know Nathan in real life. I haven't met his wife yet.
Nice. You know him from Starbucks?
No, he does the Vixo stuff, and
Oh yeah.
over there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Small world though. They live like not far from my brother.
No,
It's
that's what's
crazy.
up.
Speaking
Yeah.
of small planet, I literally know Alistair here from a league flex match. He was our one extra, and he's 30 minutes away.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they added me, and they were like, I was like, do you need a fifth? And they're like, yeah, for sure.
Nice.
I guess I didn't do too bad that game.
Nah, he's fun to play with.
Yeah. You set up a lot of plays. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's one of those things you just have to be. Like my biggest problem is like I need to be more consistent in lane because I can definitely just never die. But I just want to test it.
I just went my ass off. After the first death, it's just a spiral. But it's okay. Sometimes, like last game, it worked out somehow.
Oh yeah, dude. We'll definitely come back. Just that's the big macro play. Like as long as bot doesn't fucking like their brains just explode, it should be fine.
True.
It's like how can you play Yasuo and die? It's like I need my powers back.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just fitting the role playing.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I'm waiting for them to like. I feel like it needs to be solo or flex. Like
Mm,
one or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
right.
Because I feel like that gives I don't know. Few people going into queue is like pretty substantial compared to one person going queue, and then Yeah, Flex is literally useless at top 5.
Yeah. Agreed. It's really like it also inflates regular ranked because people can just get carried. Like I had this Lilia Yumi duo, or like
Yeah.
support jungle duo, and this this girl just played a Yumi and sat on the jungler all game.
That makes
And the
sense.
jungler had like 25 kills. It's like,
Wait,
wow.
were they on your team?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're just solo in bot lane?
No, I was mid, but
Oh,
I was mad for our AD carry because like game was not fun. Even though we like stomped them,
I bet.
it was like 5v3v2. Like they're off in their own Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, no
And I
doubt.
yeah.
Man, I really wanted to kind of try trick the centaurs. The Lilia, the Soraka, and the fucking
Hacker.
Oh no,
Oh,
not even
that's
centaurs, I
interesting.
guess the fawns. I was like, dude, I'm gonna play all these bitches. And it was just like, I can't. I like get one bad game, I'm like, ooh, this is why I don't do this.
Yeah. I can't play Soraka.
Dude,
That's too selfless. I would actually fall asleep at the keyboard.
like for me, it's like the dream is to like get that Warmogs and then fucking just
True.
but I can never get I can never get there consistently. Wait, so did they get rid of Immortal Shield bow?
No, it's still there. It's just like a regular item now instead of a mythic.
Yeah, it's a regular item.
Yeah.
So you can get that shit plus like Gale Force.
Yeah.
That sounds so stupid. Maybe they nerfed it to the ground.
Yeah. It's a lot worse, but people like Yasuo might get it, or like Samira. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Let me see what they got here. Um, okay, so gives you lifeline, damage, crit strike. So nothing like truly it's like the same item. It's just
Yeah. Less stats.
is Kraken Slayer the same thing too? Or is it still
Kind
mythic?
of. It's the same. They did the same thing, like made it a legendary, but right now, I don't know if did the patch already go through?
Yeah.
Okay, so now it does physical instead of true damage.
Oh.
At first, when they changed it, it was doing magic, but it was really weak. But I still feel like it's kind of weak. I don't know.
I just want to play a champion that like runs Gwynsu's and is just a monster. But I don't want to invest in that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if it might still be broken, but Gwynsu's and Kraken Slayer like kind of cancel each other out in a way. I don't know if they fixed it.
What?
Yeah, they fucked it up. Normally it's like it like Gwynsu's is supposed to make your Kraken go off more often, but it made it go off like twice or three times like in between. Like it took a lot longer time for it to go off. It was really weird. It's like every 5 autos and then every like 7 and then 10, like super fucked up. What the hell? I scrolled up and saw someone sucking a toe.
Yeah, that kid's weird, man. So like between you guys and me, he literally comes into the chat just looking for that girl we were talking with.
Ah.
Like he'd be like, "Anyone up?" And then he'll talk to her, and then we're
Wait,
like,
is this the same Nathan?
"No, no,
Okay, okay.
no, 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 that's
Nice.
Waker wins."
Ah, yes.
Yeah, but if you go a little bit further, like He's like, "How's everyone doing?" And we're like, "Sup?" And it's like, he only replies when she comes second. Where's that Alistar fucking mythic shot?
We're too high elo. What the fuck?
You're platinum. What do you mean? You and me are both plat.
No, I mean like the this queue time.
Oh,
10 minutes. Holy shit.
yeah. I even like put myself in bot lane just in case. Yeah, they really adjusted the fuck out of Ivern.
True. I was like reading it. I read like 2 words and then scrolled down, saw how long it was, and was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm not gonna understand any of this shit."
It's not like I'm ever going to encounter an Ivern.
Right? Now, when I play ranked, I'm like, should I ban it?
If
That's
they dodge you
scary.
immediately, then that's so you know you're playing. Like it's homeboy.
Yeah,
What they
feels
do
so
with
busted.
dodging Rel?
Oh, was that this patch too? The rel thing?
Um,
No, not yet. I think that's next.
oh no, they're playing goals. Yeah. I'm just waiting for the champion besides Warwick, where like you do ability on them, it's just a ground and pound. I just want to like beat the shit out of them for like to suppress. I guess Set's the closest thing. Ew. That's like a mixture of like some World of Warcraft with like fucking Fallout. Yeah.
Let's go.
Wait. Okay. I see their names, so I'm just like, wait, is it? Oh, like I see their names. So I was like, oh fuck, do we keep for normal?
Oh. Hold on, my food is broken.
He's in the tree. That's pretty funny.
The weak fear the shadows.
Fear controls them.
Oh no, what will I do? Oh, yours actually kind of annoying. Damn near support.
My favorite color is spring.
She's just like, bro, it doesn't make sense. You're actually giving like answers. All you see is.
Oh, shit. Hey there, kitty.
Yo, do you want to play against Ari or Fiora?
I will do whatever you want.
Okay. Hmm.
What are you thinking? I need to decide if I'm doing AP or tank.
Go tank.
Okay, down the top.
Alright.
I'm not sure if it's just like me, but it's just so funny, like talking to people that are like super young and they just the fucking Pepe the Frog and shit. Everything's a goddamn meme. Ooh. Fiora, silver one, get fucked. Yay! Let me hit you, you dirty cunt. I wanted to like walk behind her and push her back, but it didn't work that way. Oh, there's a
Kill. We try to kill at least.
yeah.
Hey, you got her flash?
Yeah, we did.
Oh. Oh.
I'm just gonna walk around.
Yeah. It's fine. She slaps.
I tread lightly so as not to hurt the
I feel like these people are getting used to. Oh, what the fuck is wrong with this chick?
That's crazy. Can't help. 'Cause I'm
No,
invading.
yeah, I'm chilling. She just has to
Kitty,
dash
can you
over.
not get in the way, please?
Push the way. There's no way. Oh, she's so mean.
One day, I'll root in one place and be everywhere.
Oh no. I'm about to clean up my cat's throw after this.
Oh no.
Clean up your what?
My cat's throw up.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I know that feel.
And you will never twist your
Oh, she played me.
Oh, she got you good. Dang.
That might be a ban worthy.
Diana's right here. I think
She
she
wants
was
my
looking
blue
for
buff?
her top stuff.
Yeah, for sure she is.
I'm coming.
I didn't mean to hit the button.
Yeah, I got it, baby.
I'm coming. Can I back you up?
Alright.
Okay.
Ooh. Let's go.
2 more seconds on the next
Like
shield.
down there, yeah?
Yeah. That's it.
Mission
Sorry for
pop.
that ping,
Nice.
but yeah.
It's all good.
I gotta freak out Resident Stepsis with a crazy score this time. Here comes the 30-0 Ivern. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Daisy stampede when no one is watching.
She's a dick in me. Bro, I am bad. Okay.
I'll be back
I
soon,
will
Scuttles.
for sure ban if he was in the future.
Rain of the only magic.
She is not she doesn't have much counterplay. Eh?
Yeah, it's just the fact that anything I do, she can pretty much assume the W. Because if I don't stun her, then she just yeah.
Live to
I
finish
do
the
stun
day.
her. She
I
stuns
grow
good.
my own food.
That's true,
Yeah,
honestly. I have killed teammates before not stunning a Fiora. Repulsed a OP.
yeah, she's done really well.
The frick? There's been a Diana here. She took my
It's
shit.
reassuring how
Ah, shit.
It's okay. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
I'm dipping.
I just need XP.
Hey, it's a thingy people use. Thank you. Ladybugs should really befriend introverts.
Ah, shit.
That creature is out of this world.
Please don't check Dragon Diana. You have other things to do. Yeah. Nobody expects the Ivern immediate dragon take because he just got buffed. You never seen it coming.
Only in conversations.
The heist.
Ew, she's so mean.
I do like to gamble.
No one who wanders is ever truly lost.
Our Krug's over there. She's mean and she's got the wave to already ganking right now. Let's see here. Oh, maybe you get a tower shot on her? Yeah, because she's greeting. I'm coming. Keep pursuing. Oh,
Yeah.
it's fine.
I'm coming too.
Yeah.
Oh,
With you there, I need to just let you guys take that.
Get it, Yasuo.
Fuck me!
shit. My bad.
Nah, I ate the charm. I was close to not being hit by it, but not close enough. Clearly.
End of life is
Dude, I don't know if Fiora ignited.
I don't know. I really want one, please. She doesn't have teleport, thank God.
That's it, Diana.
another eye-opening day.
Nice.
Amelia with a good roam. Love it.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere. I thought he was Diana.
I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. You got a tree with you. Keep going.
Oh,
Now get out. Oh
Oh, oh, she said the wrong.
no! She got the wrong auto.
Let's go. That's a fucking heist. Oh, sorry, Melia.
You kind of went monkey there. Oh!
Hell yeah.
Featherbacked caterpillar.
I want to take these raptors and leave. I want to take these raptors and leave. I want to take her raptors, but fuck, I'm gonna go take her Krugs. No, Jesus. I'm dead.
and they're coming towards you.
Here we go!
Yours trying to.
No! It was kind of close to being an escape.
That was close.
I greeted. I greeted for the fucking Krugs.
Spring up.
Chewing on the
Beats
blue.
the smell of vegetation. Gotcha.
I mean, she's on the arrow? Did I
No,
just-
this
She
is
might.
me. Y'all saw me up.
Yeah, I'm coming, I'm coming.
Make sure you don't. There you go. Worth it. I say.
True. True.
Hell yeah.
Alright, time to go kill bottom.
Get to safety. Life is such a
I was stuck with him though. Too bad.
Never mind, bottom's killing bottom. Ooh, nice move,
What the
speed.
ducks are plotting today.
I'm coming to cover, I'm coming to cover, I'm coming to cover, I'm coming to cover. Ooh. Oh, shit.
No.
2 more seconds to
Oh.
shield.
Oh.
Be protected.
Get the
Everything is
feathers.
connected in the strangest way.
Alright, got my little alien covering our asses. Okay. She's getting knocked.
Fuck. Alright, lose my star, I think.
Oh.
Not this shit
Oh,
again.
shoot.
Oh!
I had to. I had to. I had no choice.
It was pretty
It was nice.
The voices. Oh, shit. Damn, I actually could have killed Ari. I had exhaust.
Yeah. The hindsight exhaust. It is what it is.
Yeah. All good, all good.
No.
She's right here. I don't know if she's gonna. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Looks like it's going to grow on me.
Oh, there she is.
Okay, she's going through her blue buff. I kind of want to meet her there if you want to come with.
Yeah.
Alright, come with. I'm going right in. What the fuck? Where's she
Did
at?
you get it right?
Where'd the
That
bitch
was
at?
so fast.
What the
No way.
fuck? She's at her
That
rose?
was Houdini. That's crazy. We can maybe dive
What
bot.
the fuck? I'm
Oh,
coming.
wait, she's right here.
I'm so
Where the hell did she
confused.
come from? Yeah, me too.
She's rooted.
Oh, I got fucked by Samira Winwall.
Oh, I got the Leona. And I got her pretty much. Cool. I mean,
Ari might be
3 for
coming. I'm
1.
not
Return to your pond, Grom.
Return to your pond, Grom.
Grant me your spirit. Animals have more to offer than warm pelts and meat.
God damn it.
Get the feeling dragons don't like me too much. Oh well. Surprises skew the bunch. Bye, Daisy. I train my so as not to hurt the dandelions.
You were a bot side?
Gotcha! I should go swimming later.
Okay, there's 5 bot.
I can teleport.
I think Daisy has a crush on you.
Whoa, whoa.
Oh my god.
What the
That's
fuck was
crazy.
that damage? Oh, there's an alley, but this chick's crazy. I'm sorry, Allie, but we can't help.
That's fine.
That was nuts.
She's just got 130 farm and 2 more kills now, but what the fuck was that damage? Oh no, I thought that was Diana. Jesus. I'm not. I just bad.
Yeah, I need exhaust for her.
I
And we
mean,
need
I
ignite.
say she's the raid boss, but there's also that. God damn.
I told you to get that second head looked at, me. And how are the pebbles, Blue?
No.
You know me, Grum. Sprint like a snail, and you will never twist your ankle. Scuttles, you're a gentle crab and a scrub.
Oh.
Thank you, Lord Grum. Brush just tickles
So you
my
have your
fancy.
exhaust ready. I'm on the way.
Yeah, okay.
Getting you this red buff for us real quick.
Alright. Okay, no Leona ult. Oh shit.
Getting Diana. She doesn't
Oh,
really get
fuck.
got. She's hit again.
Oh, it's so tempting.
I bet it
Just
is.
suiciding.
Vision force.
Oh, Diana. Nice!
Well,
Fucking clapped her. Pure.
yeah.
Let's get her ass.
What the
Oh, so
fuck?
close.
Wow. Oh, and I can click it. Okay. To the mid we go. She's not unkillable. I didn't-
Yeah.
It's just like she had 3 teammates with her last time or something, which doesn't bode well for our team fights, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Now I'll see them see me.
Get that farm, boy.
They go.
Let's see here. We can get a little more gold.
Oh.
Alright. Alistair, have your objective in mind.
I have all in 20.
There's gonna. Oh, that's a long time. There's a daisy knot. Okay. First one around here. Wow. What the fuck? Okay, I'm fast. I'll make it faster. Oh, come on.
Too fast. Oh, that's
Is it
me.
too fast?
It's reassuring
I'm not good enough. It's not very good. Ooh, it's a blue buff to take.
stunning as always.
What do you want, kitten? You're all over my mouse. You're all over my mouse area.
Fabulous Kevin Riveton.
Alright, we go after her.
Brookswell.
Oh,
I am
yeah,
at your
yeah.
service, my liege. Ladybugs should really befriend
Kitten, please. I have a literal baby cat walking on my hand. It's my mouse hand. Oh, jeez. Oh, shit.
Oh, God.
That's big slow. Big
Let's go.
slows. Easy
Fucking bear.
kills.
Oh, I
What
thought
the
I'm Baron.
fuck? They're barrening? I'll run.
I can teleport.
Do they do it fast?
I don't know.
Maybe? I feel like they don't do it that fast.
I'm about to speed up Alistair and me.
wilderness. Only in conversations.
Animals. Okay.
She's so fast.
I almost made it in time to steal.
Yeah, we could run here.
Okay, there we go. Got a bit of change in my pocket.
Potatoes are always watching.
Ooh, there's a blue buff that I marked. Ah, we'll get it later.
I'm coming.
Shields! Oh my god. No. You get to the Yasuo. Okay. Boys. No.
No! No! I didn't.
We trickled in. And yeah. Well, I mean, we trickled in against two of them. I can't believe that shit was so. Bleh.
Wait, did Jin die over here?
Jin got into melee range with Fiora, and she cut up me and him. Well, she went after him, and then Diana went after me, and Allie can only heal one person at a time.
Yeah, I thought he was running down, like, towards me, and then he ran up. Happens. It's okay, though. It's not the end of the world.
No.
Yeah.
Who has Baron on their team? It's Diana and Leona? I think so.
You want some?
Maybe so.
I didn't get the auto attack. What the hell?
Oh, there's some mirrors with you.
Fuck, here comes Daisy to help. Fuck. I gave Jin a shield.
That's crazy. Not bad.
Fuck, one more hit. Okay. Wow.
Damn. That CC's just wild. Or the CC block. Oh, bro.
I also have a lot of healing that hopefully this helps with a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna take the gate. I'm a fool. We follow?
Nah.
Oh, but I want
You
to.
do.
Emilio wants to.
Okay.
I got 4 for myself.
I guess I'm coming.
Guess I'm coming.
I wonder what adventure today has in store.
You got help defense.
Yeah. Oh, Fear is gonna kill Jin.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, what's happening back there? No, Cal. No.
Yeah, Amelia's JK long. I tried to help.
Yeah. I'm way off. Wait, why am I stuck?
Fiora has no mana. Surely we can do this, right?
Surely.
Surely.
She literally can't even riposte. Okay, I stand corrected, and I'm fucking trash. Get back here, bitch. Get here.
Nice. Let's go. Oh.
Daisy charges.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh no, she charged me.
Maybe. Ooh.
Fucking up, boys.
Ooh.
Oh
my
that's
God.
how far. She just does that, dude. You just get within like a certain range and she's ready to be lethal. Jin's doing Jin.
I wanted to exhaust her, but it was just instant.
Oh my gosh.
Jinning. Oh,
Now that the dying part's over. I must have lost everything. Audience demand.
I'm up to defend.
Maybe you should have smiled.
Alright, time to get HP again. Hey!
Life is such a strange appearance.
Daisy gives the knot. Go, Daisy's gonna give another.
Yes.
Another. Ow.
Damn, she's so tanky.
So they're probably on Baron.
What the ducks are plotting
Yeah.
today.
Fucking bitches with the
Damn.
speed.
Oh, that had to be good. Too deep.
You say that. I don't listen.
Oh.
We need the Jin.
Daisy, the knock. I'm a god. I'm a
That
god.
was. Man.
I don't listen to nobody.
Dragon?
Yeah.
I listen to the voices.
That was crazy.
Thanks.
You guys are wild.
Okay, third dragon, boys. It's fine.
Just one more?
Okay, we do this. She fucked around,
I know she would
dude.
love. She would love to play the game right now.
You good.
Wait, let's defend.
Alright, I'm dipping through the gate.
Crocs, there's danger afoot.
Wow. Wow.
I think we got. I think only Samira has Baron.
I love how the grass is fluffy on my
Yeah.
tongue.
Got a 50 bounty on her, yeah. No, wait.
Cool.
Did Daisy's supposed to go over that wall.
Ah. Oh.
Protective up.
For that chase.
Use this gift well.
Wait. No. 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 No.
Nope.
Nah. Behind. Oh my god. My health.
What the fuck?
Oh shit.
Sorry about that.
So good. Happens.
Yeah, it's all good. I don't think I defend this.
Close.
No! Come to my fountain!
That Samir build was so strange, but it worked out.
What you have?
She went Collector, Serpent's Fang, and then Infinity Edge.
Jesus. He's like,
We
I
do
may
have a
not
lot of
crit
shields,
often,
though.
but when I do, you'll feel it.
Yeah, no kidding. Our shields mean nothing.
Truly. Like, yeah, Serpent's Fang is a... They nerfed heal reduction, but then they just like put this giant ass whammy on shield reduction, and it's just like, fuck you to Ivern.
Yeah. It was fun games. I got work in an hour.
Oh, sorry about that.
Alright then. You do your
But
preparations for work.
yeah, I'll probably be on later today though, if y'all are on.
Yeah, for sure.
Perhaps. I got a nap, but then I will be for sure. Yeah.
Oh wait, I need to add you.
Yeah, I was just about to do the same. 1 second. Bam. Friend request sent.
Okay, bet. Got it.
Alright, man. Take care of
Nice.
work and everything. Yeah, man. Nice meeting you.
Thanks. Y'all have a great day.
You
Take care,
too.
take care.
So what's your plan for the next couple hours, homie? Cat throw up and what else? I can't hear you if you're talking. Damn, I can't hear you, homie, if you're there. But I am gonna go do them dishes.
And one, if you could just respond to that, and also to me, then I just think of your own particular racial heritage, and the fact that the main elemental spirits that one thinks of are often these Celtic little fairy dudes, and whether how you sort of, I'm sure you've thought of this to some degree, but how you sort of integrate these things.
Well, some of you may know this book. It's a classic called The Fairy Faith in Celtic Countries by Evans Vance. And it was reprinted recently, and I wrote the introduction to it. it mentions in there when Patrick arrived as a missionary in Ireland to convert the pagan Irish, the problem that he encountered was this belief in the land of fairies. And he, in order to convert the pagan Irish, he convinced them that these were souls of the dead in an intermediate zone that was neither heaven nor hell, which he called purgatory. Purgatory was invented to accommodate the folk beliefs of the pagan Irish. And when it was brought back to Rome, it seemed like such a good idea for converting all kinds of pagan peoples on the fringe of the expanding sphere of Christianity that it's been in place ever since. I've wondered, I think I even talked sometime this week to somebody about the way in which there's a kind of a racial or a genetic undertone about some of this stuff. I never really felt, I didn't know till I was 13 years old that I wasn't a white person, because I grew up in Colorado where everything was white bread culture, and my father may have had opinions about the IRA and all that, but we were never told, that we were Irish. And, some of you who have roots in this city know that as recently as 50 years ago, they used to have signs up along 8th Avenue that said, "No dogs or Irish allowed." So, I reconnected to that part of the heritage. The Irish are stereotypically known to be susceptible to intoxication, to be great word spinners, and to have this peculiar relationship to fairyland or something. I don't want to think that I'm just exploring the Celtic collective unconscious. It seems to me these things must be there for everybody. Nevertheless, we're so concerned to suppress racial differences because we're a democracy and because racial problems have haunted American politics from the very beginning, that we tend to want to believe that everybody is different. I mean, everybody is the same. But in fact, I took a course once at Cal, it was interesting. It was given by the forensics department, the only course I ever took in the forensics department. And it was called Biochemical Markers for Individuality. And one of the things we did, it was actually taught by Alexander Shulgin, the great drug designer. And one of the things we did is he brought in a little vial of some kind of chemical, and he passed it around, and out of 200 people in the class, 198 couldn't smell it at all, and 2 people were so overwhelmed by the smell of this that they actually became physically sick for a few minutes. Well, what this is, and then he explained to us, these people were probably up to 50,000 times more sensitive to this chemical than most people, and that this is a gene that you carry for sensitivity to this thing. Well, those kinds of compounds, aromatic compounds with an electronically active ring structure, are the very nearest relatives to drugs. And so it's reasonable to suppose that there are genetic differences in the way we relate to drugs, which doesn't mean racial differences. It means from person to person. But it also may mean, that what a race is a collection of related genes that are more frequently found together than not. This is why, technically speaking, you can never say so-and-so belongs to a race, because a race is a quality of a group. It's not something an individual is. You have to have a bunch of people before you can say that you're confronting a phenomenon of race. So it may be that what Aboriginal people believe is that there are shamanic lines, family lines, with a greater susceptibility to these things than others. So one of the things you learn when you begin to explore psychedelic substances is that it isn't hitting everybody the same way. In fact, it can hit people radically different ways. Society misrepresents drugs tremendously. For example, we all know the stereotyped image of the pothead. The pothead can't work, can't remember. It's the inarticulate, dumb hippie image. Well, I've never met anyone with a deeper devotion to cannabis than myself. And, I'm very proud of my memory and my ability to get verbally organized under almost any conditions. So I completely violate the stereotype of what it is to be a pothead. Well, how many people are there like that? I mean, I'm always amazed when people say, no, I don't want to smoke any pot. It'll mess with my memory. I mean, really? How peculiar. So what you have to do is just like every other thing, everything you've been told is wrong, and you have to take life by the handlebars and figure out what's really going on, which doesn't mean that you're reckless. I mean, there are bad drugs, there are bad politics, there are bad relationships. I hope that answered your question. It was a two-part question, though.
It still seems to me that these entities are in many ways similar to the sort of elemental spirits, and whether you think of that as a possible explanation for...
Well, when you say they're like elemental spirits, is that because you spend a lot of time with elemental spirits?
Well, I mean, taught just fairies, stories,
It's true, they are. I mean, they don't look like them, though. They don't look like anything. There was a really bad movie. Those of you who don't have kids can tune out here, but since I have kids, I've seen a lot of bad movies, because that's what they make for kids. And I think it was 4 or 5 years ago at Christmas time, there was this movie called Santa Claus to tune out on. But there was one scene in the elves' workshop where they were making thousands of toys, and there were all these conveyor belts going from level to level, and these guys rushing around at full speed. It was the most DMT-like reconstruction I've ever seen. So it's funny, though, that the elf mythology doesn't carry the sense of strangeness that you get in the DMT flash, although I suspect that what that is that we've been polluted by Disney, that Disney has given us this vision of fairies for too harmless. And, it's the Tinkerbell phenomenon. Because if you go back before, is it Andrew Lain who wrote all those books, the blue fairy book, the brown fairy book, the white fairy book? Those are weird, those stories. I mean, fairies are weird. They steal babies. That's their main way of relating to human beings, is they steal human infants and leave behind wizened, deformed, sickly creatures who become very strange and peripheral kinds of human beings. And fairies, if you get trapped in fairyland, the only way out is through, and they're language oriented. They will never do you damage if you can convince them that you're a master of words. It's poetry that they like. And all over the world, there is this persistent motif of these small entities. Well, I'm not suggesting that they're really there, but I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's odd that they should persist. and that they should be experientially available. I mean, you have to understand, I mean, a different person saying this to you, it would be a whole different thing. You know, if it was Madame so-and-Gibson, so forth and so on. I'm pushed to this stuff by experience, because my inclination is toward reason, you know? It's just that everybody moves along safe channels. Everybody stays out of the fast lane. And if you move to the edges, and drugs are certainly an edge, and you know, a full exploration of one's sexuality is certainly an edge. And going off to weird corners of the world and staying long periods of time is certainly another edge. And if you do these kinds of whole sperming world of white bread, European, bourgeois, work hard types, just looks as weird as any cultural adaptation could possibly be. I mean, I have said many times, and you probably agree to some degree, that reality is created by language. But we don't realize how true this is, that reality really is created by language, and that we are all imprisoned in somebody else's language. This isn't how we want to talk. Most of the words, I'd say 90% of the words and constructions we use would be great-grandfathers. You know, we are living inside a 90% 19th century worldview. And culture cannot evolve any faster than its language evolved, because what cannot be said cannot be done. What cannot be said cannot be put in place. So in a way, one way of thinking about psychedelics is that they empower language. It's a way to force the evolution of language. The way you stretch the envelope of culture is by creating language. Everybody, I mean, this happens unconsciously in society, you know, Hasidic Jews or reggae people or whatever, the way they create their boundaries is through language, you know? I mean, the Catholic Church, this is how they do it. I mean, speaking Yiddish is a way to do it. You create a new reality inside the old one, and you can do it by moving backward into a specialized language, or you can move forward into a new language. I mean, look at how the introduction of the computer has transformed our language in the 70s and the 80s. I mean, draw CPU, throughput, output, input, bug, glitch, all of this stuff. These are words that have been empowered by our involvement with a machine. Now, before that, the major influence on language in my lifetime was the LSD episode of the 1960s, and it always amuses me how much time and energy the establishment spends on heaping abuse on hippie talk. And it's even now, it's sold to you guys as West Coast talk. It's sold on the West Coast as LA talk. It's sold where you are, you're close to it, but not of it. It's like they used to say of the Watergate scandal, linked but not tainted. And what LSD did, I mean, I can remember, if I can remember, words like, or a concept like ego trip. The first time I heard that, I didn't know what it meant. I didn't have the concept. Well, then once somebody explains to you the concept, then you've got it. Vibes. That notion introduced a whole bunch of people to the idea of emotions. He said, you know, you walk into a room, it was a bad vibe, man. Means that there's no rational deconstruction of what was going on, but you could just tell it was not a place you wanted to be. So it began to empower new realities that were able to emerge. And it was very important, I think, to the establishment to suppress that, because new words are the beginnings of new realities. That, the gay thing is an interesting example of that. I mean, it goes from, what was it called in the 19th century? The love that dare not speak its name. Interesting. See, it was there, but you dare not speak its name. Somehow to name it was to bring it too much into the forefront. And people who were gay, nobody could anybody. I mean, it was worse than being a communist. Now, it's empowered. And all the various racial groups who have had to come up through the American meat grinder have had to create vocabularies of community that they were proud of, rather than accepting the vocabulary of the dominator culture. I mean, a good example is the NAACP. The words colored people is embedded there, and yet these were the sincerest and most radical people in that movement. At a certain, they did the dominator designation for their subgroup, and constantly oppressed minorities are trying to get the language right. And it's important for us to do this too. I mean, are we stoners? Are we heads? Are we shaman? What are we exactly? Well, pouring psychedelic substances into that mix then opens the doorway for the logos to define you. And building community is part of this. We are an interesting potential community because we tend, unfortunately, toward the lily white, but not concerned. I don't see any class dominating. There are probably people in this room who could buy and sell all the rest of us without going past their small change. There are also probably people who scraped and saved for this weekend and could ill afford it. We don't seem to be embedded in that class structure so much. Maybe we represent a level of education. Maybe we're some kind of generally definable group of people by level of education. But I don't see that either. What holds us together is what holds all subcultures together, which is an experience. In this case, not something else, but the experience of being loaded. And, it's a very powerful and immediate kind of experience. And I'm sure some of us are more loaded than others. And in any subgroup, you'll get that kind of a spectrum. Yeah.
Well, this is just, I don't want to harp on this, but with the DMT thing, what do you go to it now for? I mean, have you gotten familiar with the terrain, or is it every time as shocking as the first time?
It's always pretty shocking. I've spent a lot of time on it. What happens for me is that these entities want me to do what they're doing. And what they're doing is using sound to make objects appear out of the air. They can sing objects into existence. And this, I think that they're language elves. They're not made of matter. Well, then what are they made of? It seems as though the place you go on DMT is made purely of language. It's as though there is a syntax hard thing to picture, but they are more like sometimes they're like sentences rather than organisms. The essence of their presentation is like that of a pun. And so what they want you to do is they want you to learn to make a better kind of language. They want you not more articulate, not more clearly defined, but they actually believe or suggest that there can be a dimensional breakthrough into a language that is seen with the eyes. I think that the breakthrough that we're waiting for is not going to come out of a political movement or a redistribution of wealth or anything which could be called political. It's going to come out of a shift in the body. And these things happen. I mean, it's very mysterious how it happens. Like, think about language, ordinary language. Here you have two people. One is mute, and the other has the ordinary powers of speech. They look exactly alike. You can't tell a mute person from anybody else. And generally complex behavior. Language is a behavior of some sort. And it's very hard to imagine that it slowly insinuated itself into our being. It looks to me more like it was a kind of quantum leap of some sort, and probably appeared very suddenly. And there have been other, less dramatic, but more recent things like this going on. For example, you know, you go to school and they teach you that in the 15th century, perspective was the thing for me to understand. I mean, perspective was discovered? How could it be discovered? I mean, you just walk, here it is, right? And say, no, before 1425, people didn't know that the part of the house farther from you was smaller than the part of the house. You can't understand. It doesn't make any kind of sense. Another example is St. Augustine, who was this great father of the church and who was, by the way, African. And he was known as the most brilliant theologian of his age. And the way he would prove to people that he was an exceptional and holy man was they would open a book of theology in front of him and let him look at it for a few minutes, and then they would close the book and he would be able to tell them what was written there. As far as we can tell, St. Augustine was the only man in Europe who could read silently. Can you imagine this? It was a miracle. Say, we don't know how the bugger does it. You just show him the book, and then he can tell you what's written there. Meanwhile, everybody else has to say, the buzz, the buzz, the buzz, the buzz. And now we've completely assimilated this, although there are still a few among us who move their lips when they read. Vladimir Nabokov used to cruelly sneer at these people. He said once in an interview, he said, I didn't write books for people who move their lips when they read. And a final example, which will indicate that we've come to the end of the line, in terms of sudden behaviors emerging, is, according to my friend Bill Gibson in his book, The Difference Engine, oral sex was virtually unknown in England until the middle of the 19th century. And then it was brought in by French prostitutes, and it was just a mind-boggling concept to these Victorians. They could not wrap their mind around it. Well, you know, from our vantage point, we probably assume people have been into this since the Stone Age. Maybe they have, but at least for several centuries in Victorian England, it absolutely died out as inconceivable. And, breakdancing is another one of these where a behavior suddenly emerges, completely coherent and formed, and then it recedes. So or if it has cultural utility, it's stabilized, such as my previous example. So what these tykes seem to be trying to say is there is a way for you to use your voice in order to activate a language which is not culturally taught. It isn't that you learn it from your parents, but that it's in the bone. A poetic language, a language scripted into your genes, and not only is it an Ursprach, an original speech, the vehicle of primal poetry, it can be seen. And, it's interesting how in our culture, when we talk about how somebody is really a gifted speaker, we always reach for visual metaphors. We say, I see what you mean, And in Spanish, they say, if they're talking to you and they want to know if you've fallen, they say, is it clear? Claro? Claro, it means, is it clear? It's a visual metaphor. Say, she paints a picture, or his words have great clarity. What this means is that unconsciously we trust the eyes and we don't trust the ears. And telepathy, which most people, I think of as being able to hear somebody else think, is not that at all. What telepathy is when you see what other people mean. Because when you see what somebody means, it's like standing in their shoes. Point of view. That's a very visual oriented. If you can understand somebody else's point of view, you are that person in that moment for that purpose. And I think that it's amazing that the world has evolved as far and as fast as it has, the human world, glued together by nothing more than small mouth noises. I mean, that's what we're talking here, small mouth noises. As monkeys, we're set up for this. I mean, you can talk longer than just about any other activity that you can do without becoming exhausted. I mean, I'm the living proof of it. A very small amount of energy is required to keep the old tongue and lips going with the air moving out. I mean, imagine if we had to communicate as deaf people do with sign language all the time. This is exhausting. I mean, nobody communicates like that for 4 or 5 hours at a stretch. And yet Castro can give a 4-hour speech at the drop of a hat. So we're set up for this. The problem is it requires a congruence of interior dictionaries, because what happens is my words go across space as an acoustical signal. They enter your ear. You are very rapidly looking up each word as it comes in and comparing it to your definition. And as long as we don't look too closely at this, communication seems to be happening. The biggest showstopper there is in most situations is to say to somebody, now would you explain to me what I just said to you? Because then it turns out, the definitions are wildly variant. I mean, it's not so wild if you're saying, since you're up, would you get me a grant? Although even that's ambiguous. Maybe they say, why don't you just have one grant? But if you get into deep stuff, if you're saying, the ontological modalities of the post-Renaissance mind have issued into a situation of deconstructionist vitality such that all bets are off, say, now would you explain to me what I just said? I can't even do it with myself. I mean, people say, would you repeat what you just said? No chance, So
Now, the first thing, though, that we have to do is to get our perspectives with some background about the basic ideas which influence our everyday common sense, our fundamental notions about what life is about. Ideas of the world which are built into the very nature of the language we use and of our ideas of logic and of what makes sense altogether. And these basic ideas I call myth, not using the word myth to mean simply something untrue, but to use the word myth in a more powerful sense. A myth is an image in terms of which we try to make sense of the world. We have this hostility to the external world because of the superstition, the myth, the absolutely unfounded theory that you yourself exist only inside your skin. Now, I want to propose another idea altogether. If you think that you are only inside your skin, you define yourself as one very complicated little curlicue, way out in space and way out in time. Billions of years ago, you were a big bang. But now you're a complicated human being. But so we define ourselves as being only that. And then we cut ourselves off and don't feel that we're still the Big Bang. But you are. Depends how you define yourself. You are the Big Bang, the original force of the universe, coming on as whoever you are. See, when I meet you, I see not just what you define yourself as, Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so. I see every one of you as the primordial energy of the universe coming on at me in this particular way. I know I'm that too. But we've learned to define ourselves as separate from it. You and I are all as much continuous with the physical universe as a wave is continuous with the ocean. The ocean waves, and the universe peoples. And as the wave, I wave at you and say, you! The world is waving at me with you and saying, hi, I'm here. But the way we feel and sense our existence, being based on a myth that we are made, that we are parts, that we are things, our consciousness has been influenced so that each one of us does not feel that. We feel we have been hypnotized, literally hypnotized, by social convention into feeling and sensing that we exist only inside our skins, that we are not the original bang, but just something out on the end of it. And therefore we are scared stiff. Because my wave is going to disappear. And I'm going to die. And that would be awful. You are a fluke. You are a separate event. And you run from the maternity ward to the crematorium, and that's it, baby. Now, why does anybody think that way? There's no reason to, because it isn't even scientific. It's just a myth. If there is any such thing at all as intelligence and love and beauty, well, you found it in other people. In other words, it exists in us as human beings. And as I said, if it is there in us, it is symptomatic of the scheme of things. We are as symptomatic of the scheme of things as the apples are symptomatic of the apple tree or the rose of the rose bush. When, as a scientist, you describe the behavior of a living organism, you try to say what a person does. It's the only way in which you can describe what a person is. Describe what they do. Then you find out that in making this description, you cannot confine yourself to what happens inside the skin. So if that is necessary, if, in other words, in order to describe my behavior, I have to describe your behavior and the behavior of the environment, it means that we've really got one system of behavior. that what I am involves what you are. I don't know who I am unless I know who you are.
The text that I'm going to be discussing today, Nietzsche's Gay Science, was by his own admission his most personal book. A text that, more fully than any other, revealed his self-created persona. And I say self-created persona advisedly. Nietzsche was, in personality, nothing like the character you would have gotten from the previous lecture, which quite aptly describes genealogy of morals beyond good and evil. And from that you get a sense of a sort of philosophic Arnold Schwarzenegger. The actual Nietzsche was an incredible nerd, an extremely sickly, frail philology professor, prodigious in his youthful scholarship. But his self-created persona that most accurately described the way he liked to think of himself was actually less like Arnold Schwarzenegger than Oscar Wilde. He was very much a dandy, a very dapper dresser, playful, had a very good sense of humor, at least in his writings. And I want to try, whenever possible, to give you a sense of that side of him, because that's what he tries to communicate in Gay Science. For example, it's a work that's comprised of a series of aphorisms.
Okay. Welcome, my friends. A little bit more energy this time. Don't know why. It is what it is. Okay. Now, I am going to be playing Yorick PvE. Oh, they banned Yi because this guy was last game Yi. So, well, you know, it is what it is. I hope that... I will cry now. The sadness. Okay. Can I mute myself? Other players will be notified. I hope that the enemy team knows it. Because I really, you know, no offense, Mr. Amamu, I just want to focus on myself here. Okay? Okay. Let me be very, very careful here and see what happens when I do this. Because I'm going to try to do, if you look at my runes, I'm going to try to do extreme PvE this game. Just extreme. I'm not even going to try to touch her, you know. If she owes me some money, okay, I'll take it. Meaning the first strike, right? But if she doesn't owe me any money, it's fine too. I'm prepared to go whole game with 0 written over here. So, yeah. Okay. I'm prepared to do that. Yeah, okay. Okay. Now the first goal of this match in my mind is to get back safely. Get back safely once. Okay. Damn. Losing CS, that's never good. Get back safely home. Oh, she lost. Wow. Now that is some poke. That is some serious poke, okay? That is some serious poke over there. Still 0, unfortunately. in the department of first strike, but, you know, not too bad, not too shabby. Zero is just beautiful, you know. Zero is the ultimate, how to say... Oh, she does owe me 16. Okay, well, thanks. Appreciate, you know, there is a friend in my childhood who owed me, I think he owed me 20 euros, and it just went into the past, you know. Okay, just take this real quick and go back real quick. Okay. And you know, I did feel a little bit of animosity. Maybe is a too strong of a word. But I did feel something, you know, for a while. But then a wise man said once to me, you know, just take that as the price of avoiding a bad person. You know, 20 euros, and then I can avoid that person for the rest of my life without thinking if I did anything wrong. And that's it. Boom. Okay. I'm a little scared going there just because I don't see the V. Okay. I don't see the V. Okay. This Katarina, I would say, not doing so well. Not doing so well. Once you have the... okay. Oh, she doesn't have anywhere to escape. Almost. Yeah, I'm not very well versed in the whether or not she can or cannot escape, so that's why I was a little bit too slow there, you know. I didn't finish her off, even though I should have, right? Damn, this is so slow. What is going on? Can't really finish the wave. Yeah. I have to go back, because otherwise I'm gonna die. I'm just gonna die, you'll see. Ah, she finds the word. But, you know, well played, Mr. Pinkward. Well played. You know, I appreciate you for showing me whatever you did, you know, even though that was nothing. Because I don't think it saw the... By the way, why is it still the case where... Okay, did she... Oh, no, she didn't. Why is it still the case that when your ward sees an enemy player, it doesn't count towards your score? What is that? Why? What's the problem? Is she coming, really? Oh, did you see what she did? She showed me that there's a ward because I had forgotten about that. That's the classic ego thing where a player gives up some intel just to, you know, to show that I know, you know. Imagine if in war a general just wanted to, you know, boast that he knows something, where's your rockets located, for example, and he moves to the location and does this, and then the enemy country moves the rockets away, and then, you know, imagine if that happened. What you doing? Losing health? You know, she doesn't have any sustain, so why are you losing health, my lady? Why are you losing health? She's losing so much health that I don't even need to be afraid of the all-in anymore. Maybe of V? I need to be afraid of V? There is V. Is she mad? I don't know. I muted myself, but can the enemy players type, even though I've muted myself? Okay, I think I can get this. V might be coming from the top side there, so I'm just gonna move over here real quick. I'm recalling. It's a little bit of an ego recall. But I think it's worth it because she... Ah, there's V, yeah. I was right. What? I was right in thinking that she's in the top side. I'm a little... Yeah, there she is. There she is. Lost the cannon, unfortunately. Damn, this V giving this Katarina some, you know... I'm not gonna go back yet, because she doesn't have TP. She's in a very, very bad spot right now. I'm gonna push as fast as I can, because if she's smart... I'm gonna take some shots. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to take those shots. Because she's on her toes. Oh, this V needs to help her. It's always nice. Hold the area, he says. I'm holding the area, man. Did you know that it's this ping is called holding the area? Okay. So easy. Why is it so easy here? I think this Katarina, she doesn't realize that her strength should come from all-inning me. And if she doesn't all-in me, what is she doing even, you know? What is she doing even? Look at how bad this is for her. I'm back immediately, and the PvE perma pushing just continues. I'm gonna take the cookie jar here. Not really too afraid of V because why should I? Why should I be afraid of that? I have exhaust now. I don't think Katarina can do anything to me. Yeah, at least she tried, you know. She just didn't know that now it's too late because I'm already fed, right? I'm already fed. So, I think there's no way for her to come back. I just have to be careful of the map. I have to see what they are doing, and I can't get ganked, you know? And that's it. Okay. She keeps giving me back some gold once in a while. I wonder if this guy is gonna gank me. Because these Ornganks, you know, have you ever felt an Orngank? It's that's a pretty tough gank to avoid. Damn, she feels... I think she's even typing here. Yeah. Oh. Well, at least I got a plate and some first strike gold for that. Okay. Now I have my boots. Okay. Now you might be thinking, hey man, you know, it's not that bad. She's only behind a few CS, and you know. But the thing is that I am scaling. This build is for scaling, and she, you know, the tower is going down. Okay, they are pinging missing. I have to be extremely careful now, because damn, is she gonna bait me with the plate there? Okay, she did. I can't go there now, Kamomo, if you want me to. If you want me to help you, can't. Sorry. So this is a tiny bit dangerous right now because I don't see V. And if they double team me, it's going to be very sad. So I have to lose a bit of CS here, unfortunately, because I think she's in the bushes somewhere. She's either in this bush, I think, or in this bush. Oh, there she is. But I am not... Okay. 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 I haven't been back in a long time. I haven't been back in a long time. And I can stay here easily. Look at this. Look at how... This is just a farm, you know? Yorick should build some... Oh, she's crying. What? Look at this. There haven't been any kills. And there's tilt from me just farming. Damn. How to tilt the enemy player without doing anything, really, just farming. I'm trying to avoid you. You know, you're just giving me oh, there she is. I have to immediately... Damn, did I exhaust the right person? I was trying to press on the Katarina, but I damn, if they played that, you know, if they tried that, oh. If that was intentional, is what I want to say, then well played, really. Well played. I wonder if I can get the Umbral Glaive, or should I? I'm gonna get the Umbral Glaive and then try to get a play for the... and then I'm gonna get the Ghost Blade is what I wanted to say. Okay. The Umbral Glaive sometimes gives you safety, you know? Gives you safety. I don't know where is V, so this is a little bit dangerous. I don't wanna rush this, you know, because no, I'm not gonna risk it because there's the vision, and you know I don't know how to actually avoid that vision there without being seen. Oh, actually, what? Overpowered? Yori ghouls? The ghouls waited, but this is still bad. This is still bad. Okay, I'm gonna live fast. I'm just gonna live fast here. Very, very awkward. Can't even finish this guy in time. Whew. If V was paying attention to the map, I think I could have been caught there with my pants down. Because that's the most pants down moment you can have. You don't have ghouls, you're just finishing a herald with your Q and shovel. And that's the most pants down moment you can have, really. What is this Orn doing? Does he owe me any money? Looks like he does. How much is it? 16, not too much. Orn, I thought I was a better friend to you. Oh, what you doing, boy? Okay, Orn. Now he owes me some money. Now he owes me some money. Okay. Okay, Orn. Orn Star? Boom. And that's how you place a wall. And that's how you place a wall, predicting stuff. And she flashed into the wall, right? Oh. Okay. Now I need to exhaust the Katarina. Does Milio owe me any gold? No, he doesn't. What are you doing, boys? You know, I'm not even gonna look at there. I see that Amomu is in the enemy base, and you know, I kind of respect him for it, but still, you know, the respect has to end at some point. He says, Yorick, where did you go? First of all, I've muted myself. Let me say that I'm not gonna speak there. Maybe he doesn't waste his time anymore. Where did I go? I didn't go in the enemy base. That's where I went. Oh, come on, man. That's a funny question. That's a funny question. I don't know if you noticed, but I am extremely fed. And I mean extremely fed. You might think that, hey man, you know, it's not that bad. Yes, it is. 3 items, especially expensive items. Well, if you don't count the... Orin, what you doing, boy? Do you have flash? I don't know. If you don't have flash, I can maybe try to finish you, but if you do... What you doing, V? What's going on here? What is going on here? Okay. I think I'm gonna go first over here. Take these guys and then try to 1v1 the Baron. Usually when I 1v1 the Baron at minute 20, I want to have ghouls first and then get extra ghouls from the Maiden, right? But in this case I don't have the luxury, simply because I already have the... Okay, this is quite dangerous, but I think the enemy team doesn't expect this, so let me just try to do the 1v1 here. Or is this even a 1v1 or is this a 1v6? Easy. Looks like I'm gonna be able to finish this guy. Maybe I need to go back a bit. Ah, it's easy. Easy 1v1 Baron. Amumu just cannot contain himself. Amumu cannot contain himself. Unfortunately, I have 2 kills and 3 assists. Sorry about that. Sometimes when they jump, you know, one of the kills I remember is V just jumped on me for no reason somewhere over here, so I had to, you know, slap her. And the first kill I don't even remember. Something, you know, something happened, I guess. So. And now, for my next number, I think I should just, Oh. What if Camille disconnects? And we lose. So, no. Okay. Was having a sweaty forehead for a moment there, because that means that we have to finish the game fast. If that happens. Now, who is gonna come after me? It might be 4 people. It might be 3 people. 2 is not enough, I would say. 3 might be enough. 3 might be enough. Damn, she keeps disconnecting. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, you know, get some money from her. I don't want to kill her, you know, because I don't want to increase my score. But what I do want to do is I want to get some money, right? I want to get some money. Well, 4 versus 5, we win. Very nice. They don't know we had a AFK, but you know, they are too far behind. So yeah, thanks for watching this. Let me slap her. No, please don't kill. I don't want to increase my score. Okay, it's fine. So yeah, thanks for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.
Poems, riddles, jokes, songs. none of which are more than a few paragraphs long. The form of the work is Nietzsche's attempt to overcome what he considered the dreary, systematic nature of traditional philosophy, which he felt was hampered with a sort of ponderous, heavy-handed seriousness, as if we were getting deep and getting to the bottom of things. Rather than be systematic, Nietzsche endeavors to be edifying, playful, to offer wisdom rather than a lie called truth. And as we'll see, Nietzsche argued that given the philosophic conception of truth, there could be no such thing. The text is, I would urge, a wonderfully beautiful piece of prose. In fact, it's one of the very few pleasurable reads in all of German philosophy. Not to say that German philosophy is not rewarding. I mean, reading Kant, reading Hegel is intensely rewarding, but it is also very much like having your teeth drilled, without anesthetics. And Nietzsche was critically aware of this and was, in fact, revolted by it. So my presentation will, as I've mentioned, whenever possible, attempt to capture this quality of playfulness, good-hearted mischievousness, and what I would call a certain happy-go-lucky skepticism. Now, I must confess, in spite of his best efforts, Nietzsche was, unfortunately, a systematic thinker. Therefore, I'm afraid before I can actually delve into the text, and what I plan to do is actually read you passages and explicate them, I have to present one of his central doctrines that I believe informs and underlies everything he writes. And this is a doctrine that's known as perspectivalism, alternately called perspectivism. In brief, the doctrine holds that all of our concepts, our language, our culture, represent perspectives which we impose on experience. Right? We put a mask, as it were, over the realm of experience to create a, quote, world. And since Nietzsche is systematic and all of his theories and theorems interrelate, I can draw on the last lecture to give you an example of this. Take morality. Is morality an absolute reflection of the truth? Or is morality, as Nietzsche says, perspectival? In other words, consider the master morality that Professor Sugrue has so aptly described. It is a morality of, not of what one does, but what one is. Right? From a certain perspective, it has an intuitive sense. The good man is a man who's good for something. And one can easily picture the situation. You're going off into battle with spears and swords against people with spears and swords, and you have a choice. You can have on your side either, well, Lawrence Taylor, or you can have on your side Mahatma Gandhi. And he says, well, this was the master sense of morality. One of them is good. Lawrence Taylor. Why? Because he's good for something. When you're in the middle of a battle, you'd rather have Lawrence Taylor by your side. Mahatma Gandhi is bad because he's useless. He can't do anything for us. In the middle of a battle, he's going to sit down and start, eating rice or something like that. Perfectly useless. So that's one perspective. And then there's the slave perspective, right? That Lawrence Taylor is in fact a bad man because he's violent. He's contemptuous of those beneath him. And Mahatma Gandhi was a good man because he had universal love. And Nietzsche says, well, which of these are really true? Neither. There is no real truth to this. There's just those perspectives. And you choose the perspective which works best for you. Now, this is not a complete innovation. That such perspectives are imposed rather than, quote, read off of nature. Kant had pointed out, right? I mean, with his discussion of the Copernican revolution and conceptual schemes, a lot of what we, quote, call the world actually arises from our own a priori categories. Now, Hegel had historicized that, right? He said, it really doesn't come from our a priori categories of mind because we find different conceptual schemes in different parts of the world, and we find conceptual schemes evolve over time. Nonetheless, philosophers after Hegel, and certainly before, held that what makes a perspective true is that it, in some sense, corresponds to the way the world is, right? And we might accept Hegel by saying, well, each of our following perspectives comes closer and closer to an accurate correspondence of the world. And this is a doctrine called realism, the notion that the world is just like the picture represented of it by the beliefs we hold or by our language or common sense. Nietzsche felt this was a piece of pre-Darwinian nonsense, literally a philosophic antique piece. Nietzsche says, what if we take Darwin seriously? What possibly can make a perspective believable, except the fact not that it corresponds to reality, but rather that it empowers us and allows us to cope with reality more effectively. So the key to evaluating belief as good or bad is not whether it corresponds to reality, which is a vacuous notion because we never quite get in touch with reality, but rather whether it fulfills our will to power, right? Whether it allows us to control nature, to control ourselves, to control our environment, including other humans. So, in short, realism for Nietzsche is dogmatic and unjustifiable. For the world in itself is nothing like the way we describe it. Now, I want to urge that perspectivalism runs in two disparate directions, one external and one internal. Externally, it takes the form of scientific realism, right? Which is the belief that science accurately depicts the way the world is. But Nietzsche disagrees. He says science is just another perspective. It's certainly the perspective he believes in, hence gay science, but not because it corresponds to the world, but because it's an extremely useful thing to believe, right? It actually helps us control nature. Reality itself is actually just chaos and flux. Nietzsche does occasionally, I must confess, fall into metaphysics. His metaphysics are thoroughly Heraclitean, which is to say, they are the metaphysics we found in Heraclitus, the pre-Socratic philosopher. Persons for Nietzsche are nothing other than a series of drives and instincts. And this is a really Darwinian conception, right? What describes a human is the particular congery of drives and instincts. And Nietzsche sums that up with the phrase, will to power. So all of nature, not just humans, are various wills to power. All the animals are In this lecture, we're going to engage with Friedrich Nietzsche's, one of his early offerings on history called On the Advantage and Disadvantage of History for Life. It's a very brief text, but rather difficult in its own way. In it, Nietzsche focuses on an all too often ignored question, and a critical question which should be addressed. Namely, and it's the obvious intuitive question, why should we think about history? Why should we care about history? Why are we so obsessed with the past? What do we hope to learn from history? What is its value? Why all this talk of history? Now, given Nietzsche's biological and somewhat naturalistic bent towards things, this question demands analysis of the value of historical thought and knowledge for human life and human needs, and most especially for what he would consider the life instinct, the vital élan which leads to creativity, growth of the human spirit. So his question is, to what extent does history contribute to this? And to what extent might it not be a hindrance to such an instinct, to such drives? And it raises the fundamental possibility of a conflict between these two. Between, on the one hand, our knowledge of the past, between a knowledge of history and its meaning, and on the other, our human life needs, our drives, our instincts, and our will. And Nietzsche has no question as to where his loyalties reside. A very opening of the text, he says, only so far as history serves life will we serve it. Which is to say, from a rational perspective, from a humane perspective, one cannot serve history to the extent where that begins to be a part of life itself. Now, Nietzsche begins his analysis by contrasting the human condition, which he thinks is filled with memory and historical existence, with the eternal present of other herd mammals. And this may seem a silly contrast, but But Nietzsche is being biologically correct. We are, after all, herd mammals. Right? We're featherless bipeds that live in packs and hunt in packs and prey in packs and eat in packs. If that's the case, then it is a fair contrast to contrast us with other herd animals. The difference being we do have a memory of our past, and we do have an awareness of our historical legacies, and they don't. And it's precisely because such animals, and he takes the example of the cow, which he uses quite often because cows are ruminators and are thus thoughtful animals. Such animals always lack an awareness of their past or future, and they live in an eternal present without cares, right? There's a certain sort of blissful state that one can see in a cow grazing in a pasture. It's not concerned about where it came from. It's not concerned that it's going to wind up steaks. It doesn't know it. And I quote, "Only briefly concerned with their pleasure or displeasure, enthralled by the moment, and for that reason, neither melancholy nor bored." That is the great virtue, the happiness of the herd beast. It lives in the present. It's not concerned about its future. It's not bored with its legacies. It's not weary of its burdens. And for that reason, man envies the beast. We envy it its happiness, and we yearn to be free from our past. But, and again I quote, "However far and fast he runs, the chain runs with him." We can't escape our memory. We can't escape our historical past. And it is a burden with which we carry. Now think, isn't it that which we envy in childhood? When we talk about the innocence of a child, the innocence of children, what is it that we refer to except the fact that the children have not yet developed historical consciousness? They don't have a burden of a legacy of a past that they must carry like a ball and chain. And again, I quote, "The virtue of childhood, which as yet has nothing past to deny, playing between the fences of past and future in blissful blindness." Okay, so that must serve as our initial point of contrast, our point of reflection, the distinction between an unhistorical existence of the other herd mammals and our own. Nietzsche notes that all life requires what he calls a horizon, or what we might call a limited field of action. Now, what does he mean by that? Well, let me give you some examples. If you were going to study nature as a physicist, it would be absurd to begin with the question of, let me understand nature as a whole. What's the nature of the universe? That's a question which is going to lead you to run in circles forever. You have to limit your horizon, your field of action, and say, look, I'm interested in a particular problem. I'm interested in, say, the rectilinear propagation of light, and noticing the fact that light is refracted through different mediums, different ways. I want to figure out what the various values that one would put into, say, Snell's law, the law which determines how light is refracted through different mediums. That's an example of limiting your horizon, of giving yourself a horizon within which you can work creatively and fruitfully. Similarly, as an historian, to talk about the nature of all of history, everything that's ever happened, is a project which, if anyone gets through the first chapter of that book, will be remarkable. Where to begin? There's just too much. You have to limit yourself. Maybe do a study of the Renaissance, a history of painting, a history of the Roman Empire. Those are limited fields of action. Those are problems with a horizon. Well, the same thing is true of life. Our lives must too have horizons. Consider if you were part of a community and interested in perhaps improving that community in some way. How paralyzed would you be if you had to felt you had to try to resolve all of the problems of the world? Every disease, every famine, every plague, every structural imbalance, every unfairness. Where would you begin? Nowhere. The fact is, without a horizon, your will, your desire, your ability to act is seized. It's seized by self-doubt. It's seized by insecurity, by an uncertainty of where to begin. And it's Nietzsche's contention that too much history, too large of a dose of an awareness of the human past, leads to dissolving that horizon, leads to an inability to mark off a limited field of action. As a creative being, man needs some history. There's no question of it. He needs some memory to fashion and refashion himself as man, as distinct from other herd mammals. But too much history, a surfeited history, produces the German word Weltschmerz, or world weariness, a burden feeling for all of historical existence. And it leads to nausea, in the Sartrean sense of discontentedness with the human condition, and ennui, a sort of decadent lack of will, of appetite, of desire. We should never see history as an end in itself, according to Nietzsche, but as a means to something else, to life. That is the altar upon which all things must be sacrificed. History, I quote, so far as it serves life, serves an unhistorical power. It doesn't serve the past. It doesn't serve the future. It serves creativity. It serves will. When history works for us, it emboldens us to do great actions. It serves as an inspiration to creativity, to growth, to development. History should never be pursued for the sake of just collecting more knowledge about the past. Nietzsche, in accord with his biological thinking, believes that all of historical understanding emerges out of human needs. Now, he sees three distinct forms of historical interpretation, or three different sorts of historical accounts, three different types of history. And these are the monumental, the antiquarian, and the critical. Each of these three forms emerges and is derived from different historical human needs. They each fulfill different goals, different functions. And Nietzsche understands each of them as valuable and to be cherished. But when any one of those forms dominates at the expense of the others, the result is detrimental to life and is something to be feared, is a source of danger. Okay, let's begin with monumental history. Monumental history serves the need of active and powerful individuals. Monumental history is the history of monumental events and monumental beings, great, inspiring events. Histories of famous military campaigns. Most military histories of the Civil War, for example, are monumental histories. The tremendous integrity of Robert E. Lee, the fierce competitiveness of Stonewall Jackson, the brutal clarity of mind of Ulysses S. Grant, the utter ruthlessness and daring of William Tecumseh Sherman. Similarly, many great art histories are monumental histories. The universal genius of Leonardo da Vinci, the daring exploits of Michelangelo. So what monumental history serves is the human need to find models, to find teachers, for people who have the aspiration to greatness, to creativity, to producing monumental things themselves. And they can't find such teachers always in the present. The number of monumental figures in all of history is fairly small. So they need role models, they need teachers, they need sources of inspiration, and they look for that in the past. And that is the function that monumental history serves. The demand for monumental history, then, expresses something very positive. A faith in humanity. A faith such that, and I quote Nietzsche here, the great moments in the struggle of individuals form a chain in them, that in them the high points of humanity are linked throughout millennia. That what is highest in such a moment of the distant past be for me still alive, right, and great. So as a philosopher, he may well look back to Socrates, to Heraclitus, not as relics to be understood within their own context and times, but as symbols of greatness and of achievement, as inspirations to himself, that he could think in monumental terms of himself as a contemporary with them, as an inheritor to them in some way. Now, obviously, the benefit of such a monumental history is that it produces courage in us. The belief that such greatness is indeed achievable because it has been achieved before. We needn't limit ourselves to an academic painting style. We've seen revolutionary painters, Picassos, Raphaels, Rembrandts. We therefore can feel the courage to experiment, to try new things, vast things, great things. It induces a courage such that, and I quote again, the knowledge that the great which once existed was at least possible once, and may well again be possible sometimes. And we can think of examples of this sort of monumental history. Petrarch and the early figures of the Renaissance produced just such monumental histories of the classical Greeks and of the scholars of classical times, of the great philosophers and poets, precisely to inspire them to try to achieve such greatness again in the context of what they considered the mediocrity of scholasticism. And similarly, we can think of other examples in other disciplines where we draw on the inspiration of great historical predecessors. The early scientists of the Renaissance studied the pre-Socratic physicists as a monumental inspiration to them about the possibility of speculating about nature without recourse to supernatural means, without recourse to religion. However, as with every mode of history and knowledge, it has disadvantages. First of all, the comparisons between the past and present that one finds in monumental history are always imprecise and generally ahistorical. They never take into account the reality of the context which produced that particular moment or that particular monumental figure. Monumental history is incapable of understanding the causes of events, particularly when such causes are ignoble or mundane. How can a monumental history account for the great victories, say, of Ulysses S. Grant, his steadfastness, when in fact part of that inspiration may have been his rather pathetic childhood, the fact that he was a perennial loser in anything he tried to do up to his life, and that when the blood started flowing seriously, he crawled inside of a bottle for a few days. Right? That tends to deflate somehow the monumental. And it's precisely those sorts of realities which become obscured in an understanding of the past in monumental terms. An example that we can have of monumental history, national and religious celebrations, right, are all monumental. And they always ignore the causes of the events celebrated. Okay? We celebrate the 4th of July as a great moment of independence. Do we mention the fact that the reason that that event occurred was because we didn't really want to pay any taxes? That we were taxed far less than any of the people in the British Empire that were not in North America, and yet we refused to pay those taxes for our own protection and defense? No, we don't. Similarly, religious celebrations and rituals, when we celebrate, let us say, Easter, right, the Passion of Christ. Do we point out that the reason that this really happened was because some guy sold Jesus for money? And that, in fact, Jesus didn't have the political support among the community of the Jews to protect him from crucifixion? That, in fact, he failed to organize his community sufficiently to be able to continue to preach? And another example, another problem. Monumental history tends to ignore vast portions of the past, portions that are either uninspiring or aren't monumental. An excellent example of this is Hegel's philosophy, which in many ways is monumental's philosophy of history, after China has produced its great contribution of showing that the one is free. It drops out of history. Apparently nothing happened in China after about the Shang dynasty. Okay, that sort of violence to our historical knowledge is one of the drawbacks of monumental history. Okay. Now, the next mode is antiquarian history. Antiquarian history serves the need to preserve and admire, or what we may call the revering soul. Antiquarian history is a study of and a collection of antiquities, of old things, of things which somehow mark our origins and which we cherish as treasures. And what the antiquarian historian does then is preserve what has allowed for the growth of himself of his nation, of his culture, of his city. And this serves life. Just as monumental history served life by producing models, this serves life by giving us a variety of traditions and institutions which have helped us in the past and teaching us to treasure and revere them. Now, on the plus side, this antiquarian history serves to create a we out of the inheritors of certain institutions and traditions. An antiquarian awareness of the Constitutional Convention serves to create a national identity for peoples whose ancestors may not have been in this country at the time, or may have been enslaved, or may not have been part of the civic community. But nonetheless, an awareness of those traditions, engaging in things like 4th of July celebrations, collecting genealogies, serves of our great founders, serves to give us a sense of our collective identity, to create a strong sense of community, because these are shared inheritances. Such reverence can have great value during times of trouble, when the society is threatened by possible disintegration or defection. And I quote, "Such reverence is of the highest value where it imbues modest, coarse, even wretched conditions in which a man or people live with a simple, touching feeling of pleasure and contentment." Think of what happens in a nation as it undergoes a famine and a hard time. The people must be sorely tempted to emigrate en masse. What keeps them at home is that antiquarian connection with their past, that sense that the old country holds something sacred to them, something valuable. And this serves life. It serves the life of the nation, and it may serve the life of the people, even if, take the case where there is not the possibility of emigration, at least it gives them some consolation, some salve, some hope, some belief that their condition is not as desperate as objective conditions might suggest. And he compares this to, and again I quote, "the contentment of a tree with its roots, the happiness of knowing oneself not to be wholly arbitrary and accidental, but rather as growing out of the past as its air, flower, and fruit." And this is no small form or source of psychological satisfaction. Okay. However, again, it has downsides. While such antiquarian history may serve life, it certainly doesn't serve historical truth or pure knowledge. In the sense that such antiquarian history tends to always rip out of its context those antiquities. The wonderful founding fathers and their deliberations are always rooted out of the context of, well, we tried another constitution and it failed abysmally. And basically most of these people own bonds in the U.S. government, which are not going to be paid under the old Articles of Confederation. So they create a new constitution in which they will be paid at rates which are extremely profitable. It also can hinder judgment in the sense that antiquarian history teaches us that whatever is old is to be venerated. Whatever has endured is valuable. And thus, the useful and the outdated are not distinguished. They're put together, hand by hand. Nietzsche says, "Then you may well witness the repugnant spectacle of a blind lust for collecting, of a restless raking together of all that has once been." Consider the fascination with the stars and bars in the South. The holding on to that relic. Why? That's past. Slavery's done. The Civil War's over. It lost. You're not going to go back to those days. That's an outworn relic of a past, which is venerated simply because it's old. Don't know if it's good, don't know if it's bad, but it sure is old. Similarly, think of things like Jim Crow, caste structures in other countries. These are all relics of a past which only persist because of this antiquarian sort of history that venerates anything that's old and fails to distinguish between that which is useful, serves life, serves humanity, and that which stands in its way. And this brings up a third and critical point. Antiquarian history only understands how to preserve life, how to keep alive the things that have helped, but it doesn't know how to generate life. It only teaches us how to preserve what has been, but it never gives us any clue as to how to create what we need, how to create something new, how to build. Only the monumental can help us do that, can offer models and inspiration. Thus, the antiquarian historian, the antiquarian history, paralyzes the man of action and I quote, hinders the powerful resolve for new life, stops human creativity, and leaves it shackled to the dead hand of the past. All right, we now turn to the third form of history, critical history. And by this he means the developed scientific historiography of the 19th century. Right? A fully self-conscious, historicist awareness of the distinction between past and present. And it serves the need among humans to liberate us from the shackles of, for example, a conservatism born of mindless antiquarianism. Critical history teaches us how to criticize our past, how to criticize the elements of our society that are simply relics of an outdated epoch. The strategy of critical history generally is to drag something old and tired before the bar of judgment. It is interrogated and condemned in the interests of life and growth. I think of, in American history, C. Vann Woodward's brilliant work, The Strange Career of Jim Crow, in which, during the height of segregation, he analyzed historically, in a critical way, how this institution of segregation in the South had emerged, its origins, showed its flawed nature, criticized it, judged it deficient, wanting, and condemned it to death. And it was a work that had a profound impact in policy circles. We can think of examples in the subcontinent of Asia, where histories of caste serve to undermine the belief in such caste. These time-worn traditions which date back well before the time of Christ and are revered as part of a religious tradition are finally exposed to what they are. They're the results of the conquest by Indo-Aryans of a native Dravidian population which is subjugated, is perhaps separated on the basis of exploitation and perhaps protection from disease. And therefore, since those things have been transcended, there's no longer a need for them. What judges here, however, in a critical history, is not justice. What's judging is life, the need to move on, the need to grow, the need to develop. Okay? Now, critical history is a very tough sort of history, and it requires the strength to condemn time-worn pieties to the knife. It's not an easy thing. The most famous example, the beginning of critical history, is probably the higher criticism of the Bible, the critical history of biblical scholarship in the late 18th century, which required a very tough sort of spirit, because it for the first time showed that this text, which is revered as the center of our most revered religion, is in fact a compilation that can be dated to a particular moment, and is in fact comprised of a variety of different texts, edited by priestly scribes. Some text left out, some text put in, some text rewritten, some text changed. The words are different depending on where in Israel the texts were written. Similarly, the higher criticism of the New Testament shows there were hundreds of gospels circulating around. The bishops decided which ones were orthodox and put them in. The ones that they weren't, they burnt. That sort of critical history, then, unveiling that, is a very tough practice. It's also a dangerous practice, because everything can be subject to criticism. And everything that has a beginning, that has a history, has its share of injustice. And therefore, everything might be rightfully destroyed, including ourselves. A critical history of the emergence of the United States by someone like the great colonial historian Edmund Morgan argues. The rights of English, the rights of Americans, the expansion of democracy was directly a result of slavery. Without slavery and the removal of any threat of class conflict, because the working class will now be exclusively enslaved and unpolitical, we can therefore extend rights, voting rights to everyone else. They're not a threat. So it's not an easy practice, critical history, and it has its dangers. Critical history places both the monumental and the antiquarian in its historical context. And it thus gives us a truly scientific understanding of what made these things possible. And unfortunately, this can be extremely deflationary. Hegel once had an expression that, when speaking of the subject of history, the great man, that never look too close at the great man critically and historically. He has to be looked at from a distance. And his expression was, no man is a gentleman to his valet de chambre. Right? Once you get too close to a great man and realize that he has bizarre bathroom habits or has strange dressing habits, the luster fades away. And so it is with all monumental events. They all have their embarrassing undersides. And the critical historian is always bringing these things to light. He's a sort of historical muckraker. Well, modern man, according to Nietzsche, has gone so far to demand that history be a science, and thus place no limits on it as it relates to life. We are willing to sacrifice life in favor of historical, scientific understanding of the human past. The result for Nietzsche, and I quote, is, historical knowledge floods in ever anew from inexhaustible springs, the alien and the disconnected throng about. Memory opens all its gates, and is still not opened wide enough. Nature makes a supreme effort to receive these alien guests, to order and to honor them, but these themselves are at war with each other. And it appears necessary to master and overcome them all, so as not oneself to perish in their strife. Gradually, it becomes second nature to get accustomed to such a disorderly, stormy, belligerent household. While at the same time, it is beyond question that this second nature is much weaker, much more troubled, and through, less healthy than the first. An awareness of the contingency of historical events, of the wide varieties of phenomena that make up the world and the world historical process, lead to nothing so much as confusion. There's too much to assimilate. Everything is seen in both its positive and negative features. Everything is placed in its context. And this leads to a certain confusion at first. And his point is, historical consciousness leads you to not so much get confusion at first, but to get used to that as your regular state of affairs, where people are no longer certain of their opinions. They're no longer certain of what is right and wrong, of what they want to do in life. There are too many possibilities, too many options, too many sides to all of the issues. And that human nature that evolves from that state of uncertainty, he finds relatively weak, passive. It doesn't have the strong life instinct that a much more limited field of action, a much more limited horizon would. It lacks confidence. Okay, Nietzsche thinks that this surfeit, this overabundance of historical consciousness in the modern age results in 5 particular evils. First is an excessive contrast of inside and outside, and he claims that this is generated and the personality weakened thereby. Well, what does this mean? Modern man separates his internal sense of self from his external world. The external world is just too complicated and too confusing. Therefore, he becomes internally focused, trying to understand his own unique nature. That means that the world around him becomes a mere spectacle, something within which he is not a natural participant and he is not at ease. He becomes, and I quote, a spectator, merely enjoying himself and strolling around and brought to a condition which can hardly be altered for a moment, even by great wars and great revolutions. News of tragedies and ethnic cleansings abroad elicit from us a tisk-tisk. And isn't that unfortunate? Our souls are no longer moved. We're no longer profoundly affected by historical events because we're overcome by them. There's too many of them. We've learned to separate our own internal states from the world around us, to place that barrier of distance. This blur of events and information pushed into the brain leads man to become so relativistic as to question his own standards of judgment and retreat into mere historical understanding. Was the French Revolution a good thing? Too complex a question. I can explain to you perhaps why it occurred, some of its causes. But as for whether it's a good thing or not, well, who can say? It's too difficult. Well, if we can't say, who can? Do we expect the herd animals to speak? Do we expect God to come down and tell us? Only strong personalities, he claims, can endure history The weak are completely extinguished by it. Only those with an exceptional sense of personality can learn to demand and insist on their own standards of judgment. The rest of us simply become overcome by all this knowledge. In short, we become sort of psychological wet noodles. All right, the second problem. Too much historical awareness makes an age think it's the most just. As we come to understand more and more about history, we come to think that we are the most fair-minded. We are the most reasonable. We are the most just. We understand how things have happened. We think our historical objectivity has its origins in a heightened desire and demand for justice. But justice is a hard virtue and requires a strong and fanatical hand. Justice cannot know compassion. It must enforce rules with an absolute rigidity. The modern man can recapitulate the themes of the historical past, but never with its original strength or its élan. And I quote, "The original note usually awoke great deeds, needs, terror. This one, the historical, lulls us to sleep and turns us into soft men of pleasure. It is as though the heroic symphony by Beethoven had been arranged for 2 flutes and reserved for the use of dreamy opium smokers. The actual motives of our historical objectivity aren't a desire for greatness, for a ruthless understanding of a scientific nature, but are simply curiosity, boredom, and a need to prattle and gossip. Most historical judgments are based on the idiotic, parochial, and, I quote, naive belief that just their age is right in all its popular opinions, and that to write in accordance with the times comes to the same things as being just. So we write about how finally there was progress from absolute monarchy and dictatorship to human freedom and equality. Great progress because we believe in human freedom and equality. But that doesn't mean that that's what's right. Nietzsche doesn't believe we're equal. He thinks democracy is a mediocre form of government. It produces mediocre people and a mediocre culture. It produces a culture of MTV. What we call justice is simply affirming the virtues that we live by, and that's the result of our excess of historical consciousness. I quote again, "The instincts of a people are impaired, and the maturing of the individual, no less than that of the whole, is prevented." This is because critical history destroys myths and delusions. Critical history teaches us that George Washington was not that great austere figure who refused to chop down a cherry tree. When he chopped down a cherry tree, he refused to lie afterwards. He was really an ambitious, middling planter who married a much older woman because she had a lot of property, and who was probably stiff and full of integrity because he had wooden teeth, and they were very painful. That John Adams was not inspired by the greatest of principles. He was really a rather obese, pompous man who was full of ambition and vanity. Thomas Jefferson wasn't a great egalitarian fighter for freedom. Yeah, he wrote some interesting documents. He also had slaves, and he couldn't understand why they were so damn lazy and didn't work hard enough to help him pay off his gambling debts, or his debts for architecture, or his debts for whatever consumption he engaged in. Well, there's truth in all of those statements, but they destroy the myths and delusions and illusions which foster creativity, which foster inspiration. It's like telling a child immediately, you know, there is no Santa Claus, really. There's a certain point at which the child needs to know that. Needs to know that yes, there is a Santa Claus, there is a tooth fairy. Yes, it's true, if you say your prayers and act like a good person, God's watching and you'll be rewarded for it. And it's true, bad people suffer. So this critical history, and again I quote, destroys illusions and destroys existing things and robs existing things of their atmosphere in which alone they can live. Certain creative and life-inspiring institutions and practices require an atmosphere of illusion around them, right? Could you imagine telling an artist who's trying to express himself that, gee, you know, you're really only playing out the possibilities of the form developed in the last 20 years. And it's all sort of out of point since the development of photography if you're going to do realist painting. Or better yet, you know, gee, all of your painting really just expresses the various traumas you experienced as a child. and it's your juvenile will to wish to act out and, as Freud would say, spread feces on the wall, and as a result, express your juvenile inability to accept the reality of other people. These things may be true, they may not be true, but in any case, when stated, they destroy the atmosphere of awe and reverence within which that artist exists, which inspires him to go forward and think he's really creating something absolute and significant. Thus, for example, any history of Christianity, good critical history of Christianity, always proves the undoing of Christianity by dispelling the pietistic and superstitious atmosphere that surrounds it. Any good history of Christianity which points out, yes, Jesus thought he was the Messiah, and there was one right before him, and then another one before him, and yeah, they all claimed to walk on water and do miracles. It was a pretty standard thing to find at the time. And the devil really does come from Zoroastrianism. His original name was Angre Mainyu, and the halo around the heads of saints actually comes from Mazdaism, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. By the time you're done with such an accurate history, pointing out that actually Paul was a businessman as well and refused to travel on the seas because he was afraid, once you start giving all of those details, you wind up an atheist. It destroys it because you destroy the illusions, that atmosphere of reverence which surrounded it. Monumental achievements, then, and even great men are cut down to size. Since, as Hegel said before, no man is a gentleman to his valet de chambre. Right? Everyone, when faced with critical history, can be reduced. An inspiring history like figure like Theodore Roosevelt, one of the great, energetic presidents of the 20th century, great innovator, turns out he was probably overcompensating for the fact that he was a very small and weak child and he was always picked on by bullies. So he tried to be tougher than thou. He was an example of Adler's theory of overcompensation. For an institution, or even a person to grow, it needs this sort of mystical atmosphere. This mystical atmosphere gives it self-confidence. It gives it an illusion that allows it to follow its life-creating instincts. When you point out all of the strange contingencies that must exist if some creative individual is in fact achieved some success, that he's got to find a good agent, the market's got to be correct, if the business cycle's in the wrong cycle, he's not going to have any success, is going to lead that person to turn into an accountant rather than a painter. It needs to have that mythic atmosphere that there is a universal brotherhood of the great painters, that Rembrandt, in a way, was alive in the mind of Picasso, and Raphael in the mind of Rembrandt. It is precisely this, though, that the historical consciousness destroys in favor of a knowledge which is sterile.
Take a drink of water.
One blinds some birds to make them sing more beautifully. I do not believe that today's men sing more beautifully than their grandfathers, but I do know that they are blinded early. By the means, the vile means used to blind them is much too bright, much too sudden, much too changeable light. The young man is whipped through all millennia. Youths who understand nothing of war, of diplomatic action, of commercial policy are deemed worthy of being introduced to political history. But just as the young man runs through history, so we moderns run through art galleries. So we listen to concerts. Only may we feel that this sounds different from that, this makes a different impression from that, increasingly to lose this sense of surprise, no longer to be excessively astonished by anything. Finally, to tolerate everything. That is what we call historical sense, historical culture. Okay. The fourth problem that Nietzsche finds with historical consciousness is that we come to see ourselves as we understand more and more of the past. And we saw this with Hegel as latecomers, as epigeny, or epigony, as the last men at the end of history. We are the result of a vast sweep of history in which all great things have occurred, so that we should have the historical awareness of being a consequence, a result. And this wisdom means that we are, in a sense, old men. The youth of the creativity of our species is behind us. We stand back and reflect on what has happened. We have no creativity left. There are no new great projects ahead of us. all that is left for us is to understand what we have done. Historical education, quote, really is a kind of inborn gray-headedness. And those who bear its mark from childhood on surely must attain the instinctive belief in the old age of mankind. Historical awareness tends to make us believe that we have gone about as far as we can go. There's nothing new under the sun. And this leads us to our fifth problem, that we become ironic and indeed cynical, even about ourselves. That is because our scientific history teaches us that previous creative periods were not burdened with our historistic self-awareness as last men, as the men who have worn out their spirit and have nothing left but reflection on their past. And the historian himself must be aware that the reason other peoples were creative was because they didn't have that burden. They didn't have that awareness. So we come to be ironic even about our own historical understanding, seeing as it is absent in all creative epics. This becomes cynical with Hegelianism, which Nietzsche detested. Because with Hegelianism, we find that whatever happens to win in the process of history is proclaimed to be ordained by the world's spirit as necessary. So we become so cynical as to say whatever has won in history was right, because the rational is the real and the real is the rational. What could be more cynical than that? That is fawning upon the victors. That is saying whoever comes out on top, we will bow before you and give you the imprimatur of historical evolution. We thus get on our knees with every authority because it has succeeded in becoming an authority. Okay, what we have found with Nietzsche then is that our excess of history, our surfeit of history, has destroyed our plastic ability to grow and change. Nietzsche thinks that the antidotes are the poisons of the unhistorical and the superhistorical. The unhistorical is simply the ability to forget, to leave the past to itself and charge into the future with a naive belief and confidence in possibilities. The enemy of this forgetting is science, which is always a horizon-creating phenomenon. Forgetting is the horizon-creating phenomenon. Science would eliminate all boundaries and throws man into an endless, unlimited, light-wave sea of known becoming. Now, the superhistorical is the realm of the stable and the eternal. It's the positing of great ideals and eternal verities. It is stable, and it is being without becoming. It is the realm of art and religion, of timeless essence and the universal. And it is the enemy of science. A history that served life would thus fuse the unhistorical and the superhistorical. Unlike science, it would eschew the claim to objective truth in the sense of univocal interpretation, the one correct account, and the induction of general laws. General laws of history would be incredibly dull and trivial, Nietzsche says, if we could discover them. They probably have to do with diet. And Nietzsche thinks that history is always perspectival. It's always a question of your interests, of the perspective you come from, of your goals. Rather, a history that served life would be like art, in creating a unity and thematic coherence which exemplifies the general in the particular and the profound in the simple. It would allow us to forget what needs to be forgotten, i.e., the suffering and injustices of little men, of the average person. And let us focus on the great man of the past as an inspiration for the production of greatness ourselves, so that we shall not be Epigony and the last men. Such a history might be self-consciously mythopoetic or critical, with an eye towards the practical goal of life and health. And I want to end by suggesting examples. Examples of the former, of a mythopoetic history, might be Thus Spake Zarathustra by Nietzsche, or Ecce Homo, his own mythopoetic autobiography. An example of the latter, a critical history, would be The Genealogy of Morals, a scientific analysis of the beginning of our moral notions of good and evil, good and bad. Or The Birth of Tragedy, philological research into the fusion of Dionysic and Apollonian modes in Attic tragedy. All four of these histories are at the same time as critical, antiquarian, and monumental. Thus, Nietzsche himself, as an historian, and most of his works take the form of history, never practices one history at the expense of the other, but all in the service of life. Rather than a series of drives and instincts. And this is a really Darwinian conception, right? What describes a human is the particular congery of drives and instincts. And Nietzsche sums that up with the phrase, will to power. So all of nature, not just humans, are various wills to power. All the animals are wills to power, trying to dominate their environment, replicate their genetic code as much as they possibly can, and eat other things lower in the food chain. That's the notion of will to power. So science and common sense are just masks that we throw on reality so that we can cope with it, so that we can manipulate it. Now, Nietzsche accepts the correspondence theory of truth as the only tenable theory of truth. And it is for that reason, he says, there is no truth, right? Because there is no fixed, final, parsed reality for it to correspond to. So don't be upset when we find out that everything is a lie, that there is no truth. It doesn't mean that there's nothing to believe in. It simply means that there is nothing to correspond to our beliefs, that our beliefs simply interact with the world causally rather than correspondentially, right? That they give us a handle on the world. And as I've suggested, therefore, grounds for belief have nothing to do with truth, but rather are all about power over nature and ourselves. Now, perspectivalism also cuts into
It says, don't feed the birds.
Don't worry about
I wonder what
I'm
they're
sure
missing.
They will all turn up one day.
A real ninja lady always touches
Always touches everything. Hell yeah.
A secret button. Alright then, I push the button.
Adorable puppy, yes sir.
We got red lights. I like them.
Shit.
Benji, you're back. You birds multiply at a very high rate.
If you can put on a glove and some iPhones and go into a synthetic world, let's say a lavishly furnished mansion on a hill, but in that mansion a painting hangs over the fireplace, and by pointing your finger at the painting, you go through it and break through onto a pine-dotted plain with a fountain in the center of it. And then by going to that fountain and walking through it, emerge back in the kitchen of the mansion. You know, where does reality begin and end? And how can we at this moment satisfy ourselves that we are not in some kind of solid state matrix of some sort? How can we satisfy ourselves that this is not itself a simulacrum? And the answer is you can't. We only assume it isn't because that's called Occam's razor. You all know what Occam's razor is, right? It's the idea that hypotheses should not be multiplied without necessity. The simple way of saying that is the simplest idea should always be preferred. But notice that this will lead you into deep error in most human situations. If you prefer the simplest explanation for what's going on, you'll never understand what's going on. I mean, you see two people and they're falling in love. If you assume they're falling in love because they like each other, you're probably missing the fact that one just inherited $10 million and the other is a rat. And, you know, one was abused as a child and the other is able to manipulate people all over the map. So Occam's razor is fine in the formulation of physical theory, but it doesn't take us far in understanding human motivation. What the psychedelics seem to me to argue for is that reality is not reality. There may be no reality, but certainly this is not it. This is some kind of highly provisional, culturally sanctioned hallucination that we are all participating in. And whatever it is, it yields ultimately to non-entity. I mean, our realities are sustained by our being. And from looking at what happens to other people, we know that eventually you get laid into the cold, cold ground. And then what is your reality worth? So reality, whatever it is temporary and yields to non-existence. That seems to be the primary ground of being. Yeah, over here.
In putting out something that's a question to be explored as the week goes on. I mean, I've had that experience of, quote unquote reality.
I couldn't. I had to wake you up. I wasn't gonna be able to be awake at that time. My buddy Alistair said he had worked all week just so he can play some video games, blah blah blah, and